Welcome to a brand new episode of the Pack Mentality Poppins podcast. I'm your co-host, Brian Reinhart. And today, a little bit different of a podcast as we're setting up a preview for a huge upcoming duel for NC State as they travel up to New Jersey and will take on Rutgers on Sunday at 4 p.m. To preview the duel, our other co-host, Trent Hidlay, we sent him out on assignment. He went out, recorded his own podcast with Nick Kosko from Rutgers, who's their play-by-play guy, does a lot of wrestling content on his YouTube channel too. And Trent and Nick, they broke down the Rutgers duel. Turned out exciting. There's going to be a lot of great matchups. So Wolfpack wrestling fans, stay tuned. Trent Hidlay talks about the upcoming NC State and Rutgers duel.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of On 3 Wrestling. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and with me today is, of course, an NC State legend. Trent Hidlay's with me on the program today. Trent, appreciate you joining me today. You know, you've had a lot of success on the mat for the Wolfpack. You're with the RTC now, sticking around the program. So I'll start out first before we dive into this year's team. What's it been like for you sticking around in a familiar place and just continue to get more training in and obviously pursue your senior level goals?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I love NC State. I love my time as an athlete at NC State, and now to have the opportunity to train full time and compete for the RTC has just been incredible. There's a lot of free time as an RTC athlete when you're full time, but I'm not complaining about that. I get to be around the guys on the team, a lot of the guys that I was teammates with for 4 or 5, even 6 years, and to see them continue to develop and grow and chase their collegiate goals has been super cool as well. And I can kind of play a role of mentor for them as someone that's been through 6 years of college wrestling. But it's a great opportunity. We have a great situation with the Wolfpack RTC, obviously with Zach Esposito taking over as assistant coach. That's been awesome as well. But full time, we have Jamil Kelly as our RTC coach, which is you can't ask for much more as an athlete to have a coach like that. So just from a technical standpoint and a skill standpoint has helped me improve a ton already in a couple of months. And I think I was able to see some of that progress at the past World Team Trials, which I was really excited about. And now, as I get into my first kind of full year as an RTC athlete, taking some time to just develop, improve my skills, and then as I get into January, start competing again and looking forward to the U.S. Open and the World Team Trials. But it's a different feel, being in November and not competing every weekend and getting down the weight. But it's been really enjoyable.
Well, the guys that are getting down the way are this current NC State team. And again, a little bit weird not seeing you in a Wolfpack singlet, but again, time does unfortunately move on. Just what are your first impressions so far of this team? Of course, 1-0 in duels. We saw some guys at the Journeyman Open tournaments as well, and of course, leading up to a busy weekend here with duels against App State, Princeton, and Rutgers on Sunday.
Yeah, I think when you think of NC State wrestling this year, a bit of unknown. I think an unproven team, a lot of new guys in the lineup, a lot of young guys. So it's going to be a great opportunity for guys to step up. I think NC State previously has always had a ton of veteran guys in the lineup and leaders that are proven that you could always count on. And this year's a little bit different. So I think there's a ton of excitement around that, but there's also some uncertainty. And I also think when you think of NC State, you think of a really strong dual team and a team that's going to compete with any team in the country as far as putting them in a dual meet setting. And this year, maybe not as strong as a dual team because there are, some young and unproven guys. But that's for them to decide. I think there's, when you look at it from my perspective, I have seen these guys develop. I've trained with these guys. I know what they're capable of. And now it's how can we get them to trust in themselves and put that product out in the mat when they compete. So I think it's a super exciting team. Like I said, there's a lot of uncertainty, and there may be some duels or some moments this year where you look at the results and you're like, well, they may not be as strong this year, but I think the goal of this team this year and what the coaches are preaching is how can we continually get better, and sometimes that may be challenging ourselves against a very good team and seeing where the holes are, but not hitting the panic button too early and getting the guys ready to compete towards the end of the season, because frankly, we haven't done our best at the national tournament as a team. So our shift of focus is, well, the coaches shift of focus, but mine as well is how can we get these guys to peak at the national tournament and to get 5 or 6 guys as All Americans and national champions.
Yeah, without a doubt. I talked to Pat Papalizio, your head coach, just a couple months ago, and he mentioned how, it's a new roster. There's a lot of young guys, but still a lot of veterans back. So nice little interesting mix within that starting lineup. Of course, some things to sort out. So we'll not waste any more time. We'll dive right into some of the big duels that are coming up this weekend. Of course, App State is on Friday, and then NC State heads up to the Journeyman Jersey Jostle up in Toms River, New Jersey on Sunday, taking on Princeton. Of course, I think the main event I think everyone's looking for this one is Rutgers NC State. NC State coming in number 7 in the country. Rutgers is number 15. Again, these two teams have not really wrestled each other too often in a Big Ten ACC crossover, but a lot of great matchups. These guys are very familiar with each other, so we'll go right down the line, 125. Again, this is all projected matchups right now. Dean Peterson for Rutgers, and then an interesting dynamic here at 125 for NC State. Redshirt freshman Vincent Robinson, who had a great journeyman event last weekend. I believe he's 7-0 in the season right now. Jacob Camacho, one of your more experienced guys on the roster, been to the national tournament many times. What do you make of this matchup? And you think there's a decision to be made now between Vince and Jacob Camacho?
Yeah, I think these guys have they put Pat in a tough situation to make a call, but I think every great program has this, down their lineup is you have two really good guys that could do really well this year. And going off of last weekend, Vince was kind of lit the world on fire, and he's something else, man. He hits stuff, and you're like, wow, that's that's crazy. And I was in the corner when he was wrestling some of his matches, and Pat would joke with me like, "How come you never hit some of that stuff?" That that's not my style. No, Vincent Robinson's he's a firecracker, but I think what's most important about him is he's a competitor, right? He's a gamer, and I think sometimes you have guys that are really, really talented and really good, and they have a hard time turning that on for competition. That's not one of his issues, and I think that's super exciting to have. And as far as the decision to be made, you obviously have Camacho there. That's in his 7th year. He's proven a lot through the course of the year, and I think we'll see that kind of play out as the year goes on. But at this point, with this weekend and the amount of wrestling and travel, I think you go with the young guy, and see how Vincent Robinson does against some great competition. I mean, you'll have a home duel against App State, and then you get thrown into the fire on Sunday with Mark Anthony McGowan of Princeton and
Mhm.
Dean Peterson of Rutgers, which is, as a young guy, when you're unproven, that's the kind of stuff you want. And I think we'll see Vincent Robinson really, really look forward to that competition, especially against, Peterson, who's, you know, won a lot and is very good.
Without a doubt. 133. We don't get a rematch due to some weight shifts, but Dylan Shawver's back for Rutgers, last year's Big Ten champion, All American last year. Projected to go up against Jacob Cox, a little bit new to the lineup. We'll get into Kyle Rini in a second, who's up at 41. But 33, Shawver, again, a lot of accolades over the last couple of years, and of course, had his true breakout season last year, and he's maybe on the short list to win that national title. What do you make of the matchup between Shawver and Jacob Cox?
Yeah, I think when you think of this dual meet, we talked about 125. That's probably say that could be a toss-up
Mm,
favor, Rutgers with the experience. I think looking at this duel up and down, this is probably where Rutgers is favored the most. Shaver has had an incredible year last year, Big Ten champ, All-American, and like you said, had beaten Kai Orini. Kai's up a weight. And we'll see who goes with the Wolfpack. We have a couple of guys that are battling for the spot between Cox and Troy Homan and
mm.
even Dragan Orini. So the coaches will have to pick who they want there. But Shaver's electric. Great lefty high C. It's always very smooth technically and gritty and can scramble really well. So that'll be an uphill battle for the Wolfpack, especially against, like I said, an unproven guy that's going to be thrown in there. But I think when you see that matchup, you're looking for a guy that's going to go out and fight. Maybe a little bit unmatched, maybe a little mismatched in experience or technique, but where's your fight at, right? Can you stay in the fight for 7 minutes and work to get to your positions and find a way to score and get some points and win a big match for your team?
Yeah, no, both coaches are a big fan of starting right at 125 the traditional way. So it's going to be firecrackers, as you just mentioned, those first two weights. 141, we already mentioned Kyle Rini and all the experience he brings back, All-American for NC State. Joey Oliveira back in the lineup for Rutgers after a redshirt year. He's been up and down at 33 and 41, but settled in at the weight. Again, redshirted last year, but he's back in. What do you make of Oliveira against Rini?
Yeah, I like this matchup. Like you said, Oliveri coming off of a redshirt year, and has looked. I was at the duels this past weekend, and I thought he looked really good against. I don't know if he wrestled both matches with F&M,
He
and
did, yep.
I thought he looked really impressive. And against Kai, who's a 6-year guy and is going up a weight class, and the point there is obviously the weight cut had started to become a little too much. And when you're in your 6th year, that's the really the last thing you want to do. So for him, I think the biggest thing is finding his offense up a weight class. I think at 33, it's a little bit of a different style of wrestling, and I think he's getting adjusted to that. He took a loss to Stanich of Lehigh in a close match, but
Mhm.
Kai is also one of those guys that he's a gamer, and he performs better when the stakes are high. And I think I'm excited to see how he competes against Oliveri, who's probably a national qualifier and looking to punch through as an All-American for the first time this year. So it's going to be a big match. I think you look towards past results and probably say that Kai has the upper hand, but going up a weight class and Oliveri coming off red shirt, there's a lot of experience there, and I think this will be a pretty even matchup come Sunday.
Definitely a toss-up right there. 149, Rutgers still has a battle between two NCAA qualifiers, Andrew Clark and Michael Chetta. Chetta getting the spot last year, 149. Clark is now finally back down to 149. He's been all over the place, as Rutgers fans know, but he's been, as you like to call him, like one of those gamers for the Scarlet Knights. And then on the other side for NC State, Coy Bisgins, a very interesting, highly touted prospect for you guys. And now it seems like this is his time to really kind of take over 149 and already seeing some good things from him.
Yeah, this matchup is really important as far as a dual meet perspective, but just for both lineups as well. And I like that, I talked a little bit about having it's a good problem when you have two really good guys to go.
Mhm.
And that's where Rutgers is at right now with Clark and Chetta. And it's pretty rare to have two national qualifiers to have to pick from. But if I know anything about, Rutgers, it's that when you put two guys in there and you say, hey, you got to go get the spot, you're going to get a very competitive guy that wants to prove himself, which is a good thing to have. So I think whoever they put out there is going to be hungry to prove themselves because it's my spot's on the line. I want to be the guy, and that's I wouldn't say similar, but with Coy, another unproven guy, right? Redshirted last year. Jackson Arrington coming off of 2 years starting is taking his red shirt. Now it's time for Coy, to step up and take a little bit of an ownership of 149 and to prove himself against the rest of the country. He had a win over national qualifier Fernandez of Cornell last weekend, which was a good stepping stone for him. And it's like, how can you continue to progress this year and keep making, some gains? And I'm excited for Coy. He's very sound fundamentally, won't make a ton of mistakes, can scramble pretty well, and he's a little shorter for the weight class, so kind of hard to score on. But I think this will be a huge match in the duel in terms of scoring. If you get this one at 49, it kind of puts you in the driver's seat. Of course, looking at how it goes early, but a big toss-up match in the duel for sure.
Yeah, in the first half will conclude, of course, with 157. Now, Ed Scott for NC State, and you guys, I mean, he's a senior, ranked top 10 in the country, All-American just the other year, three-time NCAA qualifier, a guy who's maybe, what was he, about 2 matches away in total from being a three-time All-American. So he's as good as it gets when it comes to those middle weights, and then going up against a Rutgers freshman, Connor Hare, very highly touted kid out of PA, went 2-0 last week. And I know Rutgers fans are very hyped about him because of he's one of the top recruits they've ever seen come to the program. And of course, he made a splash last weekend, showing off his ability on top. But again, a new challenge right here. And Ed Scott, who I know you know very well and has been a stalwart in the middleweights for NC State for the last few years.
Yeah, this matchup is awesome. I think it has a little bit of everything. And it's always super exciting when a program gets, a talented freshman that they've been really excited about to get an early test in the season, and that's exactly what you get here. Hare was a great recruit coming out of Pennsylvania himself, just like Ed. So this is a PA versus PA crime. I don't think they obviously ever wrestled in high school because of the age difference, but Hare is very solid, very tough on top. Will wrestle from any position, and again, he's hungry, right? If I'm Hare and I'm coming into the lineup for the first time as a true freshman, I believe he's a true freshman, right?
Yep.
Yeah. As a true freshman, it's like, man, I want this guy. Ed Scott, obviously proven for the Wolfpack, an All-American and close to, round of 12 a couple of times, who's actually coming off of, a little bit of a stumble this past weekend, took two
Mhm.
losses to Jude Swisher and Jimmy Harrington. So now with Ed Scott, it's how do you respond against a guy that's very hungry and is going to come at you very hard for 7 minutes? And it's a good test for both guys. I think it's a good opportunity for Ed to bounce back and get a good win against a gritty kid, but it's also a great opportunity for Connor Hare to step up and announce himself on the college scene.
We'll go to 165. Rutgers still has a bit of a battle at that weight class as well. Maybe the experienced guy, Anthony White, might be the guy moving forward. He did qualify for NCAAs recently in his career, but that was back when he was at 149. Tried to adjust to the weight a little bit, still a battle, but he seems to be the guy, at least maybe for this weekend, or we'll see how that battle plays out. And then Derek Fields, of course, for NC State, NCAA qualifier last year, off to a really good start this year, too, at 7-1.
Yeah, 165 again, kind of like 149. I think this is a big toss-up match, and if you look at both resumes, I'd say kind of similar in the sense of experience, and both guys are national qualifiers. So I think this is a big match for the duel, and Derek Fields is a guy that's improved a ton. Split some time last year and ended up getting the spot going into the ACC tournament and qualified for NCAAs. And now coming back this year is really taking a step forward and owning his career a little bit. And, this could in maybe last year or maybe another year after, but really trying to go all in on himself to get the results that he wants. And someone that I train with a lot, leading up to the World Team Trials, he was my main training partner and someone that has always given me kind of fits to wrestle. So he's definitely very talented. And this is a good another early season matchup that'll be, could be pivotal as you get closer to the end of the season. As you get a win like this, it looks very good on your resume going into, allocations and rankings and stuff. So I think this is an exciting match, a toss-up match, similar to 149 that could change the outcome of the duel.
Yeah, you're always looking for, is it a decision? Is it bonus points? Do you get lucky? Maybe not lucky, but is there a pin? You never know how these toss-up matches can certainly swing the duel. So we'll go to 174. Maddie Singleton for you guys, ranked 25th in the country per Intermat against a seasoned veteran in Jackson Turley. Rutgers fans have known him for such a long time. This is his grad year. He's back. He said he was healthier than ever. Former All-American back in 2021. And there's a guy that's going to score points. It's Jackson Turley. Does wrestle some close matches as well. So it's either 3-2 match or he's going to beat you somehow 14-4. But this is a fascinating matchup to me right here at 174.
Yeah, we're getting into some really good matchups here. I think after you hit 165, it's like everyone starts to pay a little bit more attention. 174, like you said, Turley, an All-American previously, who's back to feeling good. And when you get another opportunity to finish out career, you want to go out on top. And I think that's what you're going to see out of Turley is soaking up the last season that he has and really competing well and hard. And going up against Matty Singleton, who started as a true freshman, redshirted his last year, and is coming back. And there's big expectations from Singleton, a very highly touted recruit that came in with a great recruiting class, and now he's got the opportunity to compete at a good weight class for him at 174, where he doesn't have to cut too much and should be able to let loose a little bit. And Singleton is very, very strong, very good on top, very good upper body. So this is an interesting match. I think two contrasting styles. So we'll see. I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is maybe a close matchup in terms of score.
Mhm.
And it could very well come down to, a third period takedown or riding time or something like that. So I think you'll see maybe a gritty win from either side here. And it's going to take, some gritty, stingy defense maybe to get the match here, 74.
Yeah, like I said, I'm thinking either maybe one of those 3-2 matches, or maybe you see some that's like 14-11 somehow. As these guys are just going to come out and try to score, coming out swinging right there. 184. Now I got to give my guy Willie Saylor some credit because I listened to him on Basher Media the other day. 184 when he was previewing this duel, he's like Brian Soldano for Rutgers, Dylan Fishback NC State. I have no idea what's going to happen right here. This one to me might be the wildest match of the duel. If people know Brian Soldano, he can try. I mean, he could throw you and pin you from virtually any position. He could score a lot. He could also put himself in dangerous positions. And I feel like Fishbach is perhaps the same way. Again, could score from anywhere. Really random type of wrestler when it comes to certain situations. But this one, I mean, throw everything out the window. I think we need to just sit back and watch this one.
Yeah, this is can't miss wrestling right here. I mean, in terms of maybe a randomness or not knowing the result, this is as good as it gets. Saldano is extremely dangerous, and the scary thing about wrestling a guy like him is it doesn't matter how much you're up by, right? You could
Mhm.
be up by one, or you could be up by 14, and he's not going to change the way that he wrestles. And there's something very dangerous about that. And I actually had wrestled Soldano at the national tournament a couple of years ago, and it was the same thing. I think I was up by 6 or 7 with short time left, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable at all in any position. So he's a dangerous guy, and pretty electric, and also so is Dylan Fishback, and similar to Matty Singleton in the same recruiting class, a big recruit for NC State. Now it's time for those guys to take the torch and take that next step up. So this is a great test for him. Can you handle maybe the craziness or the emotions of an exciting back and forth match? Can you get to your finishes quick and avoid, maybe some throws or some scrambles? And that's going to be key for Fishback. Soldano wants action. Fishback wants to keep things controlled, but he also has the skills to do crazy stuff as well. So I can't wait for this match.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that one. Two left right now, 197. Guy you know well that you wrestled before, John Poznansky, was a blood round guy at 197 last year, All America as a true freshman back in 2021 at 184. Christian Knopp for you guys, he's ranked 30th in the country. Again, he's a senior, 5-2. I feel like both these guys, obviously Christian Knopp's been in and out of the lineup, but he feel like to me is a blue collar type of guy who's always done the work leading up to this year and this opportunity. And again, a training partner of yours, I'm sure, dating back the last few years. What do you make of Poznansky and Knopp in this spot?
Yeah, this is a big matchup for Rutgers. Depending on how the duel goes before, they're going to be looking to get bonus points, I think, from their perspective. Poznansky's a guy that's very, very talented. Somebody that I wrestled at the national tournament, who was just a very tough competitor. And going into this season, he's got a ton of experience, and he's a national title contender, and one of the few guys at 197 that you look at. It's like this guy has the skills. This guy he's a competitor. He can win this tournament. He's been
Mhm.
there before, and he's done very well. And then on the flip side, you have Knopp, who is getting his first taste of being in the lineup consistently. And, you know, going into a match like this, you're never completely out of a match, right? You're always giving yourself an opportunity to win. And if he's very explosive, extremely athletic, very strong. If you get to some takedowns and you do some really gritty things, you make this a big match for yourself. And I think it's a great opportunity for him to wrestle one of the best guys in the country to see where he's at. And with maybe the dual meet on the line, we'll see who steps up to perform for their team.
Mentioning bonus points, decisions, how it might go throughout the early part of the duel. It really could come down to this next weight at heavyweight, especially if it ends right here. Yaroslav Slavakutsky for Rutgers. He is now ranked fourth in the country after the first 2 weeks. Isaac Trumbull for NC State, number seven. Just a battle of this, at least according to the rankings, this could be the best match and the match of the night. And again, it could decide the duel. And if you're watching a duel from a wrestling fan's perspective, this is exactly what you want. So Slavakutsky, Trumbull, your thoughts on this? Again, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, heavyweight matchup.
Yeah, a lot of talent in this matchup. Slavikowski coming off of All-American finish last year and beat some really good guys and has just had an incredible career. And then Isaac Trumbull coming off of a great summer where he, placed second at the Olympic trials and lost to Kyle Snyder, but beat some really good guys along the way. A U23 world champion. So there's a ton of experience here. Trumbull coming up from 197 a couple years ago and redshirted last year, was able to put on some size. to be, a full heavyweight. Got his first experience last weekend against. He kind of got thrown right into the fire, and it continues this week. He wrestled Gotti Ollie from Campbell and came
Yeah.
out on top, and then wrestled Colton Schultz and lost in the Journeyman Collegiate Classic. So he's got some great matches so far, and now it's moving forward with another big match against Slavikowski. And Trumbull is very strong defensively. He wants guys in on his legs so he can use his hips and get to his defensive scores. Also, good upper body. And Slavikowski is just very efficient with his takedowns and very good leg attacks and very experienced. So I think this is a little bit of a clash of styles,
Hmm.
but two very high level heavyweights that you very well could see wrestling on Saturday night in March.
Yeah, without a doubt, I feel like, I mean, obviously, I'll get into it in a second, but, heavyweight, open weight class, you have the returning champion, Greg Kirkley, and a certain someone that just announced his return yesterday as well. So before I get into that real quick, before I let you go, Trent, again, I appreciate you taking your time at your morning. Uh, Prediction, I don't have a necessary prediction for this match, but I'm thinking maybe in the area of a 5-5 split, perhaps 6-4 in either direction. I just feel like both these two teams are just too talented to say, all of a sudden you're going to see an 8-2 split or someone's going to run away with it. I feel like this is going to be one of those back and forth affairs. Maybe it comes down to those final two weights, especially if you go in order of weight class. I'm thinking around a 5-5 split. Maybe this match does go to criteria. Who knows? But 5-5, I think, is your best case scenario when it comes to how these teams are going to match up against each other.
Yeah, this is a super exciting dual meet. And the cool thing about Rutgers and NC State is both head coaches have put a ton of stock into building their fan bases and doing it the right way with dual meets. So when you get two programs that care a lot about dual meets, their fans are very into it. This is going to be an awesome match and very exciting. I think in my career, we never did get to dual Rutgers. I wish we could do it in Jersey Mike's Arena and then have them come back to rounds. And I'm sure we can get that set up in the future because it really is great for the sport. And I think, like you said, it's going to be pretty even. I think what it'll come down to is you have a couple of those toss-up matches, 149, 165, 174, 184.
Hmm.
And those are big opportunities. Like you said, if you win all four of those, it puts you in the driver's seat. If you win two or three, you're sitting good. Um, but then also bonus points. I think where you're favored, you expect your guys to go out and get bonus points. And that'll be big. I'm really excited about 157. I think
Yeah.
that 157 and 125 and 184 are probably my most anticipated matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing how Vince Robinson responds after a great weekend against Dean Peterson, who's very high level. I'm looking forward to 157 with a proven 60-year guy or 50-year guy going against true freshman Connor Hare. And 84, like you said, it's going to be nuts either way. So those are three big matches I'm looking forward to.
Definitely looking to circle those, and of course, just great matches all the way. One of the better duels that you will see all season long. So, Trent, before I let you go, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the big news from yesterday. It was almost one of those Tuesday night news dumps. Gable Steveson is back. He's coming back to Minnesota. I believe he's going to start wrestling in the second semester, but it seems like immediately. The boogeyman of the weight class is back for his final year. I think immediately the favorite, national title favorite. What was your instant reaction to seeing Gable come back after a 2-year hiatus?
That's very exciting to me. Gable is one of the best ever, I think, and I think nobody would debate that. So it's just awesome to have another guy like that in the college scene. And, there's really nothing like college wrestling that you always want to come back to it, right? If I could do it another year, I could. And Gable has an opportunity to go out on top with his team. And I think it'll be really special for Minnesota to have him back. But it also, it changes a lot of things. I think going into this season, Kirk Fleet at Penn State is kind of, the top guy. And now, that's kind of thrown out the window and Gable emerged as a favorite. But that's they're not just going to give it to him, right? Guys
Yeah.
are they're going to be, working very hard to challenge him, and he's obviously the favorite. But Kirkland's been very dominant as well, and I think you also have some of these other heavyweights like Schultz and Slavikowski and even Trumbull that want to get high on the podium and reach the national finals. So it just adds a whole nother layer of excitement. I'd expect we probably won't see him much until towards the end of the season, but he's a superstar, so it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, either way, regardless if you think his return is out of left field or great for the sport, it is great for the sport. As you mentioned, a lot of buzz, and people are going to be watching him whenever he steps on the mat. Trent Hidlay, Wolfpack RTC. Be sure to check out Pack Mentality, the podcast of the RTC. You guys do a great job. You and Coach Pat Papalizio. Love watching again the inside of the NC State wrestling program. So. Trent, if I see you out there on Sunday, looking forward to it. Should be a great duel. Should be a great day of wrestling with NC State, Rutgers, Princeton, and LIU up in Jersey. And again, good luck on Friday against App State as well.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, like you said, the Pack Mentality Poppins podcast, I just got started doing that a couple weeks ago, and that's been really fun. So I'm all in on NC State wrestling. I've been having a blast being a fan. So I'm looking forward to this weekend, a good wrestling.